Welcome on into BKL Nightly. I'm Thad Brown with Caleb Carr, Rachel Liebert. It is a full house on a Thursday before a Week 14 matchup for the Bills against the Cincinnati Bengals. Got a lot to get to today. The Bills tried to sign a player. Apparently didn't work out. They've got injuries on the defensive side of the ball especially, and a really nasty offense coming to town on Sunday. Let us start with that injury report here for a Thursday. And like we said, there are lots of names to note. And right at the top, A.J. Epinesa is the first one because he was not on the injury report yesterday, and the Bills only had a walkthrough. So somehow between the walkthrough and today, he suffered a foot injury that kept him out of practice on Thursday. In addition, Terrell Bernard, Joey Bosa, Josh Palmer all did not practice. Those are not changes from yesterday. In fact, the entire injury report, except for Epinesa, is the same as it was yesterday. On the bright side, Dalton Kincaid, Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown, they are continuing to practice. Let's go to Kincaid real quick before we get back into the Bosa thing. Kincaid today had the big knee brace on his left knee there. Now he's already got a hamstring injury to worry about, but now there's a knee injury too. And here's the thing, this video right here, this is Kincaid doing exercises with his knees. I know it's some stretching there, but the rest of the guys are doing different things. And to me, that kind of stood out as he is working something out there, it seems like, with the knee, again, while his teammates were just doing normal stretches. Am I trying to read too much into it? Very possible, but that did stand out to me when it comes to Kincaid and what he did at practice today. So let's start with Kincaid, guys. In terms of what kind of loss this would be or what kind of concern we're at with Kincaid, considering what we see with him today and the different stuff he's going through, give me your read on what the Kincaid information does for you in terms of his status going forward, Caleb.
It doesn't really make me too much confident that he's super close or like will play this weekend, which sucks because he could be a very valuable weapon against this Bengals defense. I'm not too confident that he's going to be out there this weekend, though. It definitely makes me feel a little bit better as the Bills get closer to a playoff push and possibly, in the playoffs, trying to make a run that he's starting to look a little bit better. He's starting to get some mobility, which is a good thing. But when it comes to this weekend in particular, I mean, even if he is out there, it doesn't make me too confident that he's going to be too much of an asset or a weapon that he normally is with that knee brace on.
A disappointment for sure, at least this update. We don't know anything.
Yeah.
Sean McDermott might show up tomorrow and say, yeah, he's fine, it's all right. But it's certainly, if he's going to play, to your point, it doesn't seem like Rachel is going to play at 100%.
No, and I feel like this injury is just a big embodiment of the Bills' injuries this year. I mean, he came back last week, was limited for the first time in a few weeks, and then all of a sudden, there's a completely different injury popping up on the injury report. I mean, can we assume this happened Friday's practice? I mean, when...
The knee injury, you mean?
I mean, it had to have happened...
It could be as simply as even like a setback that has something to do with the rehab. I can't say for sure it's not that, but... Whatever, there's still questions
Whatever
about
it is,
yes.
I mean, it was another just random, oh, great, now we finally looks like he's trending in the right direction, and now he's kind of set back even further. I don't think he'll play this weekend, and that would be a big hit, as Caleb said. I mean, we were talking about before this, the Bengals defense cannot defend tight ends very well at all, so that is kind of the opportunity for Kincaid to have a good game, but I don't see him coming back this weekend.
The fun Cincinnati Bengals versus tight end stats. They've allowed 1,121 yards this year. That's like 260 ahead of second place, which is ridiculous. They've allowed nearly twice the red zone targets, 13 touchdowns, second place, and that is 8. The last 2 weeks to the Patriots and Ravens, and quick think, are there great tight ends in either one of those teams? The answer is no. Good, not great. Mark, don't give me the Mark Andrews thing. Right?
He's okay.
He's okay.
He's all right.
300 yards to tight ends the last 2 weeks. This is a green light special if Dalton Kincaid plays. Now, look, I'm more optimistic than you guys are. I don't want to totally dismiss the idea that Kincaid doesn't play, but it's 2 injuries. It's a brace. It's his first week of practice. And frankly, let me have this go around the table real quick. Do the Bills need Kincaid in this game? In other words, is this such a must-win game that you got to put it all on the table for this one, Rachel?
I mean, I feel like every game moving forward is a must-win for the Bills because they are in that final playoff spot, as we've talked about all week. But I don't think not having him will be a big hit to this offense. They've been without him for the last few weeks. However, they haven't had back-to-back wins in the last few weeks either. So, I mean, it's hard to say if Kincaid would be a difference maker, but I think there's been other weapons that have stepped up, but he was the top target before he went down. So I do think if he was there, that would definitely have a positive impact, but his absence might not make too much of a difference.
I'd agree with Rachel that it's at this point in the season, morally, for your confidence, every game is probably a must-win game, as you try to like push into the playoffs. Statistically, like technically, I don't think it's a must-win at this point. I think they could lose against Cincinnati and still make the playoffs. And because of that, I think it's just too early in the year to force it if Kincaid's not ready. If Kincaid's not good to go, way too early to force him out there.
I totally agree. And even if they lose this game, this just puts you back where you've been, which is win-loss, win-loss. Doesn't make it worse. It just, you haven't gotten out of it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think if Kincaid's not good to go, don't force it at all. In addition, Joey Bosa, like we said, did not practice. And this one is exacerbated because all of a sudden AJ Epinesa is out as well. The Bills, if they don't have both those guys going, are going to be in a spot where your defensive end rotation is Greg Rousseau and then Javon Solomon, Morgan Fox, TJ Sanders continuing to play out of position. This is very much not ideal. But guys, let's start with the Bosa end of this. What kind of a loss is Bosa? And I know we talked about this yesterday on BKL Nightly as well. But where does it leave the Bills if Joey Bosa, after not practicing again today, can't go Sunday against the Bengals?
It's a huge hole. I mean, we've talked a lot. I know I've been on record saying that I feel like he's a little inconsistent lately, and there's been some ups and downs from him. But you and me talked on Monday, especially after the Pittsburgh win, that big play that he had to start the second half. He's the guy that when you need a play, he's the guy that you turn to and you look at and say, Bosa, go get us one. And he's the most reliable guy to do that. He's the best guy out there to do that for you. And I just don't know if he's not there. I don't know who fills that hole especially against this explosive Bengals defense. If you need a stop, if it comes down to where they're just trading scores and you need a stop, I don't know what defender you look at and say, hey, go get us one.
Yesterday, Sean McDermott said you can't replace Joey Bosa, and I 100% agree. I don't think that there is anyone on this team there's going to be guys that have the ability to step up and come off the edge and make an impact. But Joey Bosa, like you said, he's been the impact on defense. He's been, I would say, pretty consistent. I think he's been the most, if not one of the top consistent defensive players for this team. And so, this is a big loss, and especially if Epinesa isn't good to go. Like you said, that rotation that you mentioned, Thad, is a little bit of a concern for me.
The Epinesa thing, I actually want to talk about a little more because he has been that dependable reserve guy. You can put him out there. He can rush the passer. He knows the defense. He's going to be in the right spot. He's one of the weird guys in terms of he's got that flat pass defense locked in. Like you cannot throw to the flat on AJ Epinesa ever. When you take that away, now you're not only are you searching for the top end pass rusher, you're getting Joey Bosa, but you're trying to figure out how do I get Javon Solomon to set the edge? How do I get TJ Sanders to play significant reps at the end? Because I'm just out of bodies at this point. Morgan Fox, who hasn't played a down for this team, is suddenly your second best defensive end, arguably. So while Epinesa is not the top end game changer type of player, the fact he fills so many roles and can do so many things solidly well, dependably well, to be honest, it's not more of a loss than Bosa. But boy, there are so many things that I think it hurts, so many different ways that it hurts, that it almost becomes something on a similar level. Now, the other news from One Bills Drive this week is that they put in a claim for corner Darius Slay, who the Steelers released this week. And Darius Slay, reportedly, per a number of people today, is not going to report to the Bills. Drew Rosenhaus gave that information to one of the insiders. I don't remember which one it was. It does not matter. And the rumor was, even before the Bills put the waiver claim in, that the Eagles and Slay had mutual interest for a reunion. Darius Slay last year was a starter on the Super Bowl Eagles team. And without really diving into the Eagles' current corner situation, I get the impression that he would probably have a heck of a lot more playing time in Philly than he would have in Buffalo. Because I think in Buffalo, he probably is just going to be the number 4 cornerback. But in Philly, maybe he plays more. Either way, it does not seem like he's coming to Buffalo. And guys, the other part of this is that the Bills released Jamarcus Ingram to make room for Darius Slay. And Jamarcus Ingram was picked up by the Texans. So Rachel, I don't know where you want to go with this, whether it is the bit of egg on Brandon Beane's face, whether it's the current setup of the corner room when basically you've taken a guy off your roster, not replacing him with anybody. But what is the thing that you're kind of reacting to most out of this story?
I think the biggest thing for me is just they released Jamarcus Ingram. He's picked up obviously very quickly. And now the Bills, maybe he will eventually show up to Buffalo. Doesn't look like it, but for potentially nothing. And I feel like this does kind of reflect just Brandon Beane and all of the criticism he's faced this year for his decisions and lack of, making moves and adding, bolstering different parts of whatever, defense, offense. This is just another step in that I think Bills fans are kind of like, okay, well, that was for nothing. And not that Jamarcus Ingram was a difference maker. I mean, he was a healthy scratch, I think, the last 3 weeks, or at least last week. But I do think it's just, not that it's funny, but it kind of just shows the added pressure onto Brandon Beane that we keep seeing. And this is just another layer to the ongoing saga that has been the Brandon Beane issues this year.
I agree with Rachel that Jamarcus Ingram wasn't ever really going to be a difference maker. I don't think Darius Slay, even if he shows up or if this never had happened and he just showed up on day one, no problems, I don't think he was ever going to be this crazy difference maker. I don't think he's the player that he used to be. But with that being said, it's a depth piece. It's a depth piece. Like, it's someone that can fill that role and be okay if you absolutely need to go there. Jamarcus Ingram showed things in training camp, and he showed things early in the season when he did play a little bit that were like, okay, if you absolutely need to go to him, you can. And I think Slay could have also been that. If you absolutely need to go to him, you can. So now, neither of them being there, it's just a hole in the depth chart.
I get the idea that Slay can be a bit of protection. One of the things that I was talking about with someone is that I don't know how good he is right now, but if I'm in the playoffs and for whatever reason Trey White and Christian Benford are both hurt and I've got to roll kids out there, Max Hairston and whatever young guy, Jamarcus Ingram's not a kid, but relatively in terms of a playoff experience, he is. Mm-hmm. I want to have Darius Slay in my back pocket that I can play. But that's a pretty unique situation. And I don't even know if Slay's better than Jamarcus Ingram right now. So is it really worth me shaking up my roster, taking a guy off my team in Ingram who can play special teams, forgetting about the fact he might get claimed, even if I think I'm bringing him back on my practice squad, to add this guy that only helps me in this one situation?
Yeah.
I don't even mind that Ingram got picked up. I would assume the Bills had some calculations and maybe they gambled and lost, whatever. That's how it goes sometimes. Adding Slay to me is not enough of a gain to warrant any sort of loss, in this case, even if it was Ingram.
I agree. I don't think that he's up to the level they used to be, and I agree with you that the only real value he brings is his playoff/Super Bowl experience.
All right, let's move on to the BKL Nightly Roundtable. The first question tonight is one that I think a lot of people are going to be asking this week going into Sunday, that without Joey Bosa, where do the Bills go? Who steps up for Bosa in this game? Rachel, I'll give you this one first. It doesn't have to be, in my opinion, a defensive player, but it would make more sense.
I'm going to go with a defensive player, even though it doesn't have to be. For me, it's got to be Greg Rousseau. I think he just has to have a good game off the edge. I mean, he's been, not that he's been quieter, but Joey Bosa has been, as we said, the guy that has been kind of more of that impact guy. And so for me, I would just like to see Greg Rousseau. We've seen it before. We saw it last year. We've seen it this year. I just feel like he is the one that can be a leader on this defense and not be one of those new guys in the rotation or a young guy, a rookie in the rotation. I feel like Greg Rousseau has the opportunity to step up without Bosa and without Epinesa potentially being out there as well.
I'm going to go with what I think is kind of a Thad type answer. I'm going to say Bobby Babich.
Oh, that is definitely a Thad answer, by the way. That's a good call.
I'm going to say Bobby Babich because especially with both him and Epinesa out, we're going to have to see what he can make happen with this kind of ragtag team of backups. Especially both on the D-line and with the linebacker group. The linebacker just group as a whole was my backup answer. I'm kind of intrigued to see what Babich puts together if both of those two top guys are out.
That's such a good answer and such a good Thad answer that I'm mad I didn't think of it myself now. I really am.
I really thought that's what you were going to have.
Yeah. I'm going to go offense. I really think this is going to be a Josh Allen game, or has to be a Josh Allen game. That this is going to be a game, 30 is going to be the minimum of who scores. I think the losing team in this game has 30. Spoiler alert for the prediction later. And this is going to have to be a contest where Josh Allen really has his game at the top, where it can be, the ceiling. Because we've talked a lot about what this receiving core is, and generally it's not good enough. Your quarterback can make it good enough, and he has made it good enough on a number of occasions. They're going to be able to run the ball too. It wouldn't stun me if we walked away from this game and James Cook has, 567 yards rushing and 18 touchdowns, and they still win this game by 5. But I think this is going to have to be a game where Josh Allen dominates enough through the air to keep with what I think the Bengals are going to do offensively. And to that point, perfect segue into our next question. If this game is a shootout, can the Bills win? Do we think the offense has the gas in this one, Rachel, to be able to hang with what we think the Bengals might be able to do?
I think they do, solely for the fact that the Bengals defense is not great. And I do think, like you said, this has to be a big Josh Allen game. I think it can be a big Josh Allen game. I mean, there's obviously the flip side of it where Joe Burrow is back, and that completely changes what this Bengals offense looks like. But I do think they can win a shootout just because I feel like that's what Josh Allen does. I feel like Josh Allen wins shootouts. So I do have confidence that they'll be able to do that.
Josh Allen wins lots of kind of games, but shootouts are definitely one of them.
I think that even with Joey Bosa potentially out and Epinesa potentially out, I still think that I trust the Bills defense to get a stop in a last minute situation more than I trust the Bengals defense. So for that reason, I'm going to say yes. The receiving core of the Buffalo Bills makes me extremely hesitant to say yes, but again, it's Josh Allen, and we've seen him, pick up big gains with his legs before, and I think that this could be a big day for his legs, just moving around in the backfield, giving guys time to get open, and then making some plays, picking up some first downs with his legs.
It's hard to say no just because the Bengals defense is so bad, and I went through this with you guys earlier. The things that the Bengals are last in defensively: yards per game, passing yards per game, points per game, yards per play, tackles for a loss, and I didn't remember all of them. So from that point of view, you figure the Bills should be able to do whatever they need to do. Now, obviously having Dalton Kincaid would make it easier because you can use the tight end as of the things the Bengals are worst at, they're the worstest against tight ends. So that would have been better. But yeah, I'm with you. I think one way or another, that whatever kind of game it is, I do feel like the Bills have enough. And the other thing too is they can make this, like I kind of intimated, a running shootout to where it's just James Cook up and down the field. And yeah, Josh Allen will make his 2 or 3 plays. He'll flip the ball over his head or something and, make convert a 3rd and 7 with a quarterback dive or whatever. The Bills have enough answers, I think, to win this game however it needs to be. Final question. This is one going around to a lot of Bills fans this week. Are you rooting for the Chiefs or the Texans? And let me set the context here. If the Chiefs win, that gives the Bills another game of buffer. They currently have the last playoff spot, and the Texans are 1 game behind, but it's really a little less than 1 game because the Texans have the tiebreaker. On the flip side, if the Texans win and the Chiefs are 6-7, Kansas City would probably be 3 games out of a playoff spot and losing all the tiebreakers. So a Chiefs loss ends their season. So we'll let the guy here who grew up the Bills fan go second. Rachel, you can go first with where you think the Bills, not what you're rooting for, but what you think Bills fans should be rooting for.
This was really difficult because there's pros and cons, obviously, to both sides. I feel as though if I was a Bills fan, and it's going to be hard for them, but I feel like I would root for the Chiefs in this situation because the Texans, I think, they're just 1 spot behind the Bills in the playoff race. And I think, to me, they are more of a threat in the playoffs right now. I mean, they are, like, statistically. Kansas City is behind, too. But I just feel like if the Texans win, and even aside from what the Bills do this week or what the Bills do for the rest of the season, if the Texans win, that could potentially push the Bills out of the playoffs sooner than a Kansas City. And I feel like the buffer is better. It's going to be hard for Bills fans to root for the Chiefs. I get it. I'm not a Bills fan. Maybe I don't get it, but I would root for the Chiefs this weekend.
It's a logical argument. Caleb?
Unfortunately, I would also be rooting for the Chiefs to win this weekend. The priority, as much as it pains me to say this, the priority is Bills get in, not Chiefs get out. So as much as I don't want to see the Chiefs in the playoffs, and as good as I would feel if for some reason Buffalo didn't make it, if Kansas City also wasn't there, I'd feel much better about Buffalo not being in there. As much as I wish that, I got to go Chiefs just because, like everything you said, Rachel, it gives you that extra tiebreaker. Also, in my head, let's say for some reason Buffalo stays at 7 and either Kansas City or Houston are able to, go ahead them, get ahead of them. If for some reason Buffalo was to meet one of those 2 teams in the playoffs, I'd want it to be at home. I trust that Buffalo could beat either of those teams at home. And just with how everything's laid out right now, they'd have a better chance of playing at home against the Chiefs than they would against the Texans. So that's just another part of it.
I get the home part of it. I think that's a pretty remote scenario.
It's way down the line, yes, but it's just another extra thing
not even
that Rachel didn't mention.
Not even farther down the line. I just think it would be tough to have that exact scenario happen. So you want to talk about the Thad answer. You're both wrong. Completely wrong. Bills fans should 100% be rooting for the Texans. Here's why.
Here we go.
First of all, the Bills make the playoffs at 11-6 no matter what, right? No matter what. I mean, like, not mathematically, but
Probably,
right?
yeah.
You've got 8 wins. The Browns and the Jets are 10. If you can't beat either Cincinnati or Philly or New England on top of that, then I don't want to hear about how good you're going to be in the playoffs. If the Bills rolling at 10-7 and lose to all 3 of those teams, do we care about what the Bills are doing in the playoffs? There's no talk about, well, the Bills might be able to make a run. They would have just lost 3 of 5. Yeah. So they're going to get to 11 or we're not going to care about them, right? If you're at 11, you don't got to worry about the Texans. Like, the Texans might be a problem, but not the Texans and the Jags and the Colts and the Chiefs and the Chargers. You're making the playoffs at 11 wins. So you don't need help to make the playoffs. Make the playoffs on your own without needing somebody else. And the Chiefs lose, they're dead. Not only are they dead this year, but the Bills are the only team in NFL history that have gone to 4 straight Super Bowls. We're worried about this one season, this small year, right? This is what we're talking about with this argument. You beat the Chiefs. Long-standing history lives. I don't care about this year.
History, though.
Yes.
As a Bills fan myself, every time that gets brought up, it's to be thrown in my face that Buffalo lost all 4.
Well, whatever.
I have never heard that. I've never heard Buffalo went to 4 straight Super Bowls as a positive towards Buffalo. I've never heard anyone say it.
Did you not watch 4 Falls of Buffalo? The 30 for 30 was great.
Okay, that's thing that like a media. Okay, outside of media, outside like an actual human person has never used that in a positive sense.
Don't you, wouldn't a Bills fan, don't you think would want to protect that though? Because here's the thing.
Could not care less.
It may not be a positive thing.
To be so honest.
It may not be a positive thing, but is the most positive thing the Bills have. Am I right about that or no?
Josh Allen's the most
And
positive
I knew
thing
he was going to say that. And I
guess
knew
that's
he was
fair.
going to say that.
Well, all right. All right, let's actually get into this for a minute. If Josh Allen never goes to a Super Bowl.
Gosh, you're going to do that to me.
Never goes to a Super Bowl?
Never goes to a Super Bowl. Or even goes to 1. Let's say he goes to 1 and loses. Then the 4 Super Bowls remains the top thing, right?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Here's
it's still
the thing.
not a good thing. It's still like, I get that it's good. I get that it is history, but just when you dig into it, they lost all 4. And so there are many people out there who just say it doesn't matter then because they lost all 4.
I was not aware that Bills fans held this opinion.
It is, yes. Well, I think Bills fans try to look at it as positive, but every other fan will turn to them and be like, you're crazy. They lost all 4.
Why are Bills fans worried about what other fans think?
Yeah, Bills fans are worried about what everybody thinks.
That's true. Okay, that's fair. I'll go back to my point, though. The Chiefs lose, long-standing history is saved. They win or lose, like, unless the Bills win the Super Bowl this year, and no one right now is even thinking about buying tickets, let alone planning the parade, no matter what else happens this year short of that, protecting the history to me feels like the bigger priority. So when you don't need the help and you can protect the history, root for the Texans to protect the history is kind of where I land.
Yeah.
All right. One more thing we want to get to here, and that is Christian Benford, who played really, really well against the Steelers. He was one-on-one with DK Metcalf for a lot of that game, did not allow a single catch in man coverage. And it's kind of a new thing for Benford to be the one-on-one eraser type guy. So we talked yesterday with Sean McDermott and Benford about the transition to becoming that guy and how different it has been for him and for the Bills to kind of develop him as this kind of player.
You got to be mentally prepared, you know what I'm saying, because they're going to throw the ball to you 1,000 times. And if you got to be able to win more than you lose, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes you're going to lose more than you win, and that's just part of the life, you know what I'm saying? That's part of the nature. You got to be able to have the heart and mind to bounce back and to continue going with confidence every time.
It's new for corners who are in there, who are developing, and we matched a little bit with them last year, but even more so this year. And that takes some time to adjust to.
He don't say too much, but he really knows his stuff, man. He really hones in, and really just seeing him take the opposing team's #1 receiver, it's just it's art to me, man. Like DB art, like just seeing a dude go out there and strap, somebody's best receiver. It's just a sight to see.
I love the DB art comment. That's awesome. And that's really what it's been with Benford. Now, look, we've talked on this show, me and Carl Jones, a couple different times on the Let's Talk Ball edition about the Bills don't play enough man to make Christian Benford one of the elite corners. But Rachel, let me start with you. What does it do for this defense, even if they're not going to use him this way a lot, to know that, hey, it's in the bag, and at least against DK Metcalf, we can decisively win that matchup?
I mean, it's a huge confidence boost. I mean, we're talking about, if we want to talk about this weekend and the D-line problems, I think that helps with okay, there's a lot of injuries up front, but we know at least, Christian Benford is back there holding it down in the back. I mean, and just in that unit in general. So I think we've been kind of waiting all year for Benford to have, quote unquote breakout game. And I do feel like that's what happened against the Steelers. And it just shows that why, all offseason they've been saying he's one of the best in the league. And I feel like that game proved it.
Yeah, I agree with Rachel that up to this point, it's been kind of up and down about whether Benford can be that lockdown guy. And maybe it's just because he, like you said, with how the Bills play, that he hasn't had as many opportunities. But I think against Pittsburgh, he really showed that if you need me, if you call my number, I'm going to step up and I can do it. So
my big read from this is that I've seen Benford this year really develop as a leader, a guy that everybody looks to, which was a role he didn't have in previous years, especially with Rasul Douglas around. And I think to do that, though, there needs to be a production component behind it. And not that he didn't have it before, but this was a big part of that. You can kind of see Max Hairston. He calls it DB art. So there's no doubt now who runs that room. Not that there was before, but I think it does make a difference when you can have that extra level, that extra even lever to go to say, you know what, this is our guy, and this is a guy that we trust in that spot. All right, it's time for our weekly predictions. Right now, Rachel continues to lead by quite a bit. So as the person who was in front and the person that I just said could go first, Rachel, what's your pick for this week?
For the 14th week in a row, I'm going to pick the Bills again. I'm going to go 31-24. I know you said this might be a 30-plus for both teams, but we talked about this being an offensive battle, and it obviously will. I mean, that's where the strength is. But I do think it might come down to the defense, but I do think the Bills come out on top. But last week, the Bengals put up 32 points against the Ravens, and obviously their passing game is their entire offense. But the Ravens' passing defense, is like 25th on the list, and the Bills are number 1. So I do think the Bills will have a better, locking down that passing defense. I do think they're going to put up points. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think it won't be a 32 points from the Bengals like we saw last week. I do think the Bills are going to get the win.
I'm going to go. Last week I went against Buffalo. I'll go back and I will go to Buffalo this time. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as I think you guys might think, especially Thad, you said you think it's going to be 30, the loser. I don't think it's going to be that crazy. I got 27-23, as you can see. I think this is going to be a game where Buffalo runs the ball, continues to just pound the rock. I think that's going to slow the game down. I don't think there's going to be enough time for both teams to score 30, is my point. So I have 27-23.
I think it's a fair point that it might not be enough possessions and plays to get to that high scoring a game. I don't think it'll go that way. Look, from the moment this game kind of was set and you could see what the Bengals did coming off the Ravens game with the way the offense is playing, I really thought this would be a high scoring game. I think for the Bills, you have to prevent turnovers. The one way the Bengals defense does anything is by the Bills stopping themselves with mistakes. Here's a little stat for you. Bengals this year have won 4 games. In all 4 games, they have 2 turnovers. In their 8 losses, they do not have 2 turnovers. So there's your bar. If you don't turn it over twice, you win the game. That's number 1. Number 2 is mistakes. The Bengals actually do draw a fair amount of penalties. They are the 11th most penalties against this year. Again, offensive mistakes. You take care of your own business, and the Bills, I think, will win this game. I got Buffalo going 34-30. Like I said, give me the over, give me the points, play all your fantasy options. I really don't think there is a part of this game, fantasy-wise, that you would not want to have in this contest. I think it'll be high-scoring and exciting and fun. And it's cool that this is set up this way, that the Bengals still have something to play for, because for weeks I've been kind of looking at this as like, man, Allen versus Burrow, this would be an awesome game to cover, be fun. But the Bengals are going to be 3-11 or whatever and not care. Even at 4-8, they're 2 games out of a division. So they will care about this game as much as the Bills do with what's on the line. That's going to do it for us here on this edition of BKL Nightly. For Rachel and Caleb, I'm Thad. Thanks very much for watching. We will talk to you again on Sunday, the game day recap show following Bills and Bengals, a big one for sure. Enjoy the football this weekend, everybody, and we'll see you in a few days.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.